Scott Buchanan, Unit 6, talking to a client about their free throw in basketball, comparing them to an elite athlete, going off of notational analysis. The introduction. The free throw should in theory be one of the easiest shots in basketball, as the player is alone and has no opposing team attempting to distract him or getting away, and is only 15 feet from the basket. All the player has to really do is get ready, aim, cock the ball back and shoot. Although this can be very difficult because not only does it require good concentration but also good technique, or otherwise known as mechanics, when performing the shot. A skilled basketball player should at least look to score 70% from the free throw line. But this being said, very few teams are able to overcome this task. The basketball free throw has 4 stages, and I'll discuss which aspects of the technique need improving and how to go about this improvement. First of all, stage 1, where the player is, professional athlete is near to being upright, whereas my client is slightly bending in the knees, and there's more of an angle from the ankle to the knee to the hip at 124, whereas the professional athlete has a angle of 152. This is also, not only is there an angle that needs to be looked at, it's the difference in foot positioning, where the professional athlete has one foot ever so slightly in front of the other, his dominant foot, and the client has both feet pretty much exactly in line, which may cause him to be off balance, but this can depend on personal preference and how they've been taught to throw a basketball over the years. Stage 2 is the squat stage, where the professional athlete is squatted down, his whole body weight is going towards the floor, getting prepared to propel himself up, giving himself power so that he can throw the ball further or higher, and he's got an angle from his ankle to his knee to his hip of 97.1 degrees, whereas the client has a much bigger angle of 131 degrees. This is bad because it could cause the ball to go off in different directions. It also means that he hasn't got enough power in the legs to propel the ball as far. And this being said, this can be improved by squats at the gym, maybe improving the amount of weight that somebody squats, or improving the technique when squatting. This also can be improved by, say, just repeating the technique in steps and stages, and over time it should become natural and easier for the client to throw the ball as the pro does. The other angle that is seen in this stage is the angle between the knee to the hip to the shoulder, and in the professional this is 85.6 degrees, whereas in my client, again, they've got a much wider angle of 168, which shows that they are much more upright, and again they won't be able to achieve as much power as a professional would. Moving on to stage 3, there's quite a few angles in this, and the professional, I think there's three angles in this that you can go about looking, and first of all is from the tip of the toe to the ankle to the knee, and this angle in the professional is a lot bigger, if you like, than my client, and the angle is at about, say, I think that's 112, and my client has an angle of 90. So this shows that he has barely left the floor and he's barely propelled himself into the throw itself. Whereas the professional, he has, and he's used every part of his body to propel the ball further. Another angle that is seen is from the shoulder to the hip to the elbow, and this angle for the professional athlete is at roughly the same. It's about 35 degrees, whereas my client is at 20. The professional athlete is achieving a better technique because this means that he can throw the ball further and on target, keep it in line dead straight, whereas my client, his throw would have ended up going off in a different direction, not really understanding where the ball will go and not going in the intended direction at all. And the final angle for this stage is covering the whole body, where it goes from the ankle bone to the hip to the shoulder. And my client, his angle of that is 158, showing that he's got a slight bend. He's slightly bent backwards, whereas the professional athlete, he's got near to no bend at all at 175 degrees. This is good because he's, again, like I've said before, is propelling his whole body into the movement and then achieving balanced, straighter throw, meaning that he's got more chance of the ball going into the hoop. And stage 4, finally, this is where the ball is released. The two comparisons are that I've seen that my client has a greater extended arm than what the professional athlete has, as the client's angle of arm is from the shoulder to the elbow to the fingers is an angle of 162 degrees, whereas the professionals is at 129.1 degrees. This will cause a difference in trajectory, and this, I believe, could be solely down to the individual's preference, whether they prefer to shoot a flatter, more direct shot or a loop shot. This would be more important during a game, during play, rather than a free throw, because there'll be opposition in the way, that people will be trying to put pressure on you, and so there'll be different shots for different occasions. Whereas the free throw, I think, in my personal opinion, I believe it should be a more looped shot, because then you've got more of a chance of it going in rather than it missing or just bouncing straight back off the backboard because of too much power being exerted onto the ball. Theoretically though, both techniques should work, depending on purely whether the individual's balance and stance is correct, given the distance to the basket is the same. So the only problem with that is that when comparing the two shots, you can't be too certain of it, because I know that my client didn't actually stand the correct distance away from the basket, whereas the professional did. So there could be different shots needed for different occasions, like I said, during the game, although this is a free shot and it wasn't very accurate at the time. This also being said, my client's throw was taken outside, so there could be any sort of factor affecting his throw, like the wind, the weather, anything like that. And whereas the professional athlete was indoors in an inside court, so there shouldn't be any wind at all, there shouldn't be any rain, no weather affecting the performance itself.